Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Series, a month-long event celebrating the authors and narrators that bring romance stories to life. Listen along as Viviana, Enchantress of Books, interviews your favorite writers and voices, share special guest posts, and stay tuned for some special information at the conclusion of the episode.
Today I have the pleasure of chatting with guest narrator Vikas Adams. Welcome to Audiobook Lovin Vikas. How are you doing today?
I am great, and it's actually Vikas Adam, no S. I'm not part of the.
Yeah, I know. I messed up the graphic, and I was like, and I think it was because for some reason someone said it like verbally to me when they were raving about you and your performance and how much they love you. And
Aww.
I think I just heard the S out there, and that's what kind of just stuck. So I do apologize for that.
No worries. You got my first name pronounced correctly, which is the big win for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, when you said my name too when we first started, we're like, hey, I'm like, yes, he said it right.
Viviana.
Yeah.
Viviana. You made me think first. I was like, what did I say?
Oh yeah, no, you did it right. You did it. Yeah. People tend to do the whole Vivian or well, again, with you have a unique name too, so they can.
I'm a little more sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
To the name. Well, I'm just when it comes to names, I'm extremely sensitive in general, and this goes across the board for anyone who has foreign names. I think we're at a place in our society where our society has the capability to be able to learn how to pronounce our names authentically and correctly, and it always saddens me when I see people of any culture, but mine. Especially because it's very close to me, when they anglicize their names.
Yes.
Because I feel that it's inherently a part of our culture, and there is a beauty in the musicality of our names, the way they were meant to be pronounced, and our names have specific meaning. And when we speak our names inauthentically, we are not vibrationally putting out there the true meaning of our name.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I agree. I'm very particular about that too, about having the pronunciations as me trying my hardest to make sure that I get it right. And I will ask you 1,000 times if I need to. Even when they say, no, you can call me, for example, with you, like, let's say, just call me V, or like, no, I need to say it right. I'm adamant about it because it's important.
That's the thing. Right. But the thing is, I'm at the same time, I'm like, if there is a nickname, I'm like, I'm cool with that too. Because if it's some people, I had my grad school teacher back in the day used to initially scared the shit out of me, and very intense little old man and from New York, and everything I'd be like, oh my God, okay, I've got to do this right. But then he'd be in the middle of critiquing a scene. I'd be taking everything he's saying to heart, but then he was going, all right, so Vikas. I would suddenly, it's like this fire would jump up in my Vikas. And I'm like pointing my hand towards, and he'd be like, all right, yeah, I know. Okay, but Vikas. Like, just, my scene is wrong, but my name is pronounced this way. And it's, and it got to the point where I was just like, you know what? Just call me Vic.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just went from there. Because I understand sometimes it's like, it's not going to go into someone's body, which is why Vic is the option. And
you're providing it to them as well. You're saying this is what you can call me. So why don't we have you, besides making sure that we say your name right, tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been narrating, and how you became a narrator.
Professionally, well, like ongoing, it really started in 2012. However, I did do a full cast audio back in the 90s. Which was kind of my gateway, but then there was like a huge, I would say about 15 year, 20, between 15 and 20 years before I picked up again in 2012. And really that's what started it all. 2012, I would say, I did a workshop with Audible, and they specifically at that time needed someone who could do an Indian accent for a series of books that they had coming from India, and being Indian, I was able to give them an authentic Indian accent, and books, work begat work, and here I am. They haven't gotten rid of me yet.
No.
Actually, they still want me, and that's what's lovely. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yep, that and the listeners adore you as well. They love your voice.
Thank you, and I adore them. I love interacting with people. Just because we're so solitary. Um I'm a people person, and I love collaborating, and so the only downside of narrating sometimes can be, especially when it's a home record, um, is to not have that engineer or to have that director. Sometimes you do, but to not have that person and everything is on you, and that's when it's the most challenging, I think, because I love collaborating and seeing what do you think of this, or what let's talk about this, or things like that.
So do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert?
I would say I'm a good mix of the two.
Okay.
I think and it depends on on the situation, but I think I'm a mix of the two, but I'm the individual who tries to balance the room.
Mm.
So if the room is full of introverts, I'll be the guy who's trying to be the extrovert. And
Ah.
if just to try and pull people out. And if the room is full of extroverts and there's a bunch of them and everyone's vying for attention, I'm like, you know what? I'm perfectly fine being the introvert.
Hmm.
And it also depends on, what time happy hour started. So
Yeah. Aside from the audiobook stuff that you've done, you're also an actor.
I'm an actor, I'm an actor, I'm a director. Um, it's I write as well, but it's been a while since I've been doing. I mean, the narration has kind of taken um the majority of my time, but I'm trying to start finding ways to explore those other territories again, just because I think I've always been about keeping myself uh I don't balanced and trying to find other ways to express myself. But I'm also a professor at in the theater department at UCLA, so
Wow, that's a lot of hats.
it's a lot of but it's wonderfully balanced. Uh, uh I teach during a certain time, and it doesn't take away from what I'm doing.
That's good. That you're able to do all these different things and enjoy them all equally and not have to struggle with the having to find that time as much as possible when because when you're passionate about something and you're like, I really want to do this, but I have to do that and I can't do it. So you end up to some extent getting a little bit like upset with yourself that you can't do it.
Yes, but sometimes if it's meant to be and if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. And that's where like one of my major things is I head up a program working with um pre-college students and in theater, and it gives them an opportunity to explore what it's like to be a theater major. And but it's a short intense period. So I'm pulling 18-hour days sometimes. And it's around that time when Salman Rushdie's book needs to be recorded. And and it's it's one of those, and that's one of those books where you're like, if Salman Rushdie wants you, you don't turn that down.
Yes.
And so we've been able to, like, one of the things that's been wonderful is like finding a way to work with the production companies, and they will literally be like, okay, I have a 4-hour block of time here on this day, so I will go to the studio and we'll record for like 3 hours, and we'll spread it out over days. But the point is, they're willing to do that, and they're willing to work with me, and I'm always grateful
Hmm.
for that kind of an opportunity, because it will happen if you want it to happen.
And I tell authors all the time when they have someone in mind to narrate, and I'm like, if you want them, tell them in advance as much as possible so they can add it to the books and the calendar. But if they're busy, it's okay to wait if they're available or until something because things change all the time. Sometimes, another book gets pushed out. And
Mhm.
when you find that narrator that is going to totally work for that character and that story, I'm like, don't settle
Mhm.
for another one. Don't settle for a second best.
To yes, I agree with that, but to a degree, because sometimes there are those people, it's like, but you gotta ask yourself, are you wanting the quote unquote, "the unicorn"?
Hmm.
And are they the only option, or are you willing to see what someone else can bring to the table.
Yes.
Because there have been, and this is where my director hat comes in, where when I've directed shows and I have had in my head, oh, I already know in my head I've precast a certain actor. But I'll be like, okay, but you still have to be fair, Vic. You have to have everyone come in and audition. And that actor will come in and they'll be great, but something will be missing. And then someone else will come in and they will blow me out of the water. And I never would have thought of them before. And it's been a wonderful, happy accident. So sometimes I'm like, yes, if you've got your person in mind, yes, definitely. If you can get them, great. And if it happens, but if it's turning into a longer winded thing, open yourself up, because you never know whom you may discover.
I didn't want to make it to seem like it was like you have to wait for that unicorn either. I think that it's great to have that one thing, like you were saying about casting in mind, like this is the voice and stuff like that. But again, whether it's because of fees or cost and as well as availability, is after you've auditioned everybody, and that's the one that you want because they brought that thing, that magic to the voice.
Yep.
That's when you start thinking, okay, how do I get him? How do I want him? This and stuff like that, or her.
Yep.
And but I've been in situations where they're like, I want this person. I'm like, but have you tried that one? So it's good to have that variety. And it's kind of similar to when it comes down to voicing the characters. How do you go about prepping a book and voicing these characters once you get the cast?
I look at the writing. The writing is huge, and getting an idea as to what the energy of the writing. I get very esoteric when it comes to this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just a forewarning. I do. So I do have someone that I work with as a prepper who will be able to get all the notes and everything for me and break down. They're doing the boring work for me. It's like the tedious work where it's like, okay, you gotta make the notes and you gotta make your character list and everything like that. But that gives me time to be able to just look at the book and focus on the energy of the book. So I look at the book, figure out the writing tone, take a look at the characters, see who's available, find out what I need to bring to it. If it's a multicast, who else is narrating with me? Because do they have a vocal quality that they're using that I can try and bring into um my portion of the narration when I'm voicing their characters? Um it's very I'm a theater actor, and I'm interested in character. I'm interested in discovering who the characters are. Now, so, of course, sometimes we have like no turnaround time. And so that's where my theater training um, and my collegiate training has really made a difference, because that's been my practice ground. So now I've got it to a point where I can do things quicker. Um, but yeah, did that answer your question? Sorry.
Yes. No, I find it fascinating because people that are not in, they just listen to the audiobooks. It's always like, well, that's just what the voice that they picked. And it can come across as if you're just trying to find the different gauges of the characters. But talking to you after now, it's been 6 years that I've been doing the series, finding out how and that process is for everybody, and to kind of see that at the end of the day, the process for many of you guys, especially those that have the acting, background, is to find out about how does the character feel? What are their end goals? What are they trying to accomplish? Versus, oh, he sounds rugged, versus he has a growly voice.
But that is all very important for me as well, because for me, it's also you've got to be able to differentiate. I'm trying to think about when I'm working. I've got to keep in mind some people, when they're listening, they're listening while they're doing a bunch of tasks. And so for me, the character voices have to be distinct enough so that if you're focused on something else, you still know who's speaking.
Yes.
But once again, that's a my style. That's a my thing. It's not I know there are some narrators, some performers who don't do that distinct of a character voice for the different characters. And I think that's fine as well. That's their style. If it's what's strong for them, and if it serves the book and it serves the writing, then then that's amazing. That's wonderful. Then you should totally then stick to that. I think what's important is connection to the text, and making sure that you're not phoning it in. And that can be very easy to fall into when you're pulling like 6, 8 hour recording days. But that's where the energy is taken up at the end of the day. And like people are like, well, why are you so tired? Well, I've been recording all day. And they're like, oh, yeah, but your voice just must be tired. Why are you so tired? And I'm like, well, it does take energy to embody. And it's like, and to stay connected and in tune with what the writing is.
Being able to talk to you guys has provided so much more insight. So now that when I'm listening to the books, I take it more value, and I appreciate it so much more, the work that you guys all put into these
Mm-hmm.
stories. And some of these books can range anything between, like a novella, an hour or two, to anything from like, Kristen Ashley, who is prolific in writing and can do up to 24 hours length in books. And it's just,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
it's to keep that stuff up and have it be consistent across the entire book or an entire series, depending on if it's the characters that are coming back, is a lot of work. And I truly appreciate and value that what you guys bring to the table when it comes down to bringing that performance along and keeping
Thank
us
you.
entertained.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of work. I mean, I know what it's like to just talk with my own voice. Never mind if I have to pull a character who now has an accent or, has that deeper gravelly voice and sexy, smoky one. It's like, no, that's just a lot for me to keep track of.
Yeah. And there are certain books that just for some weird like that require more of that animated quality. And I've had to come to terms with, okay, if it's that kind of a book, I need to make sure that I am scheduling more time for it, because I'm not going to be able to record as much, because I am going to wear my voice out. And there was it was tough to come to a point where I was like, I can't record as much as I usually can with this type of a book. And I had to ask myself, well, you can, but will you be happy with the quality? And for me, I'm like, I won't be happy with the quality. And so I can't do it. So I got to take that time. And there have been times where I have been a little later on a book like that, or we had to go a couple of days over. And I'm a people pleaser, so I've like had to go, you know what? It's the quality. And they've been fine. And everyone has been fine on the production side, and they've been lovely and very supporting and accommodating.
Well, from a listener perspective, one of the things that we talk about is how the narrator performs. And there's been times, I mean, I'm a firm believer that the narrator will make or break the book. You can have a
Mhm.
fantastic, phenomenal book, but if the narrator sucks, there's no coming back from that. And there's been books that have been okay, but the narrator completely knocked it out of the park. Whatever the process is to make it so the quality is phenomenal, then that's what we
Mhm.
need to be okay with.
Well, because it is acting. It's like you take a look at a TV show or a movie, and you see the performances that are not delivering. Um, but in the same token, I hold writing to a high standard and degree, as well. And recognizing there are points where it's like, if the writing is not as strong, I cannot do anything about that. I can only serve the writing that I have. But I do treat and I look at every piece of writing that I receive, um, as art. I look at it as I treat it like Shakespeare. And I have to approach it with that love. I cannot have judgment on the writing. I can be aware and objective about, okay, this will not this is not in the same category as Rushdie, but that's perfectly fine. You don't want everything to be like Rushdie. You want everyone to have their own space on the court and show what they can do.
And there's something out there for everybody.
Well, it's like I think about my taste in TV. It's like, when I'm watching something at the end of the day, a lot of people are telling me, oh my god, are you watching this, or are you watching that? And it's these really intense, serious, are you watching Chernobyl, are you watching, the latest war movie, are you watching? And I'm just like, honestly, I don't wanna. I want to watch something fun and kind of mindless, or I want to watch something fantastical that's going to take me away. And for the longest time, I felt bad. I was like, ooh, I'm not keeping up with, I haven't watched The Irishman and spent 4 hours of my life watching that. And I'm like, I realized, you know what? It's okay. You, you've got a limited amount of time. You can watch the fun stuff that fills your heart.
Yes, it makes you happy. It's the same thing when people are like, oh, are you reading another book? I'm like, it makes me happy. Back the fuck off. That's one of the things I love about romance is there's something for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they want the romantic comedy or they want the more emotional, dark, deeper kind of thing, or if they want the contemporary fun stuff, but also the contemporary, not so much, more relationship build. There's just so much. If they want the shifter that changes into a bear or a dragon, they can do that too.
I just love the fact that there are so many opportunities for people to listen to whatever they would like, and the fact that there is, to my knowledge, there isn't a shaming aspect in what you want to listen to. The fact that you can have your really dark romance or your dark and like some of the really dark stuff, you got your harems and you got your S&M and you've got your insert subgenre. And what I love is that, to my knowledge, there is no judgment because it's being produced, and that people are aware, oh, this is a fantasy and it stays over here. And my mindset goes there because in another life, I used to be involved in a lot of social issues, part-time social worker, and I worked in sexual assault awareness education, and I created a workshop called The Eroticism of Rape in Film and Television, and I would present it to students, college students, and social workers, and I presented at the national level as well of social workers. My purpose of that was to show film and television scenes that had sexual acts or love scenes or sex scenes, but to show that they were really eroticized rape scenes, but the focus being to just be aware of it and to not take away the enjoyment of the movie, but to go approach it with another thought, so that you're not trying, you're keeping it on the screen. You're not, you're keeping it in the fantasy realm. Enjoy it for what it is, but don't try to emulate it. So when someone it's not just rough sex. This is not rough sex. This is a sexual assault. Now, in the movie, it may be, the camera angles may present it so that it seems erotic, but that's our responsibility to know what it is. And yes, you can enjoy it the way it is, but know that when that light comes up and that movie is over, that stays on the screen. And so to see how even in our reading, in our books, and in our audio art, these subgenres are available, but there's an awareness of it just being fantasy, I think is huge.
We're really big on consent.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really big on the variety, and we like the variety. And there's even, with the sub communities. So those that are, love the BDSM genre,
Yep.
whether it's because of the whip and the tying up, or there's these other that I'm learning too. There's this primal style of BDSM, and there's even one that's what they call, I think it's called like the rape fantasy, where
Yep.
and so it's one of those where we don't judge, but the difference too is with when it comes down to that scenario and that scene, it's been consented. I am telling you, as my significant other partner here, this is what I want you to do, and
Exactly.
And I'm okay with it, and these are my limits, and this is my safe word. And so that to be able to have that, line open communication with a significant other, whether it is that it's a traditional relationship where there's not a whole lot of exploring or talking about it, because sometimes sex to some can be taboo. And if these books allow you to turn to the other person and say, hey, can we try this position tonight instead of the other one? So anything to realizing, hey, I think I want you to use the handcuffs, allows you to explore and learn and kind of have that trust with the partner. Did you have any preconception before coming into romance about it?
No, I've actually been I've always been a very I've always been very, very open-minded, actually. So I've never had an issue to my thinking. I have to think back and see, but I don't know. I've never had an issue. I react a little more negatively to extreme violence, and and by violence, it's like I remember doing a book where it was a post-apocalyptic kind of a book, and the way the writing spoke about women and how it talked about, it was alluding to the fact that women were everyone was my caffeine hasn't hit yet. Um, that we were reverting back to primal states, and
Oh,
that the women were suddenly becoming betas and trying to find a man to protect them because it was about fighting for survival. That bugged me more
yeah.
than two people having consensual sex. I don't know. I've been a lifelong feminist. So I guess, so that ooh, crazy thinking there.
Something that does please us though that you guys do, besides obviously the great voices and the performances, is when you guys are busting out with different accents for the characters. We're a sucker for accents. I think it doesn't at this point. It's honesty. There's nothing more fantastic than when you're hearing somebody and then they bust out with their accents. So, do you have a favorite accent to perform?
I don't know if I have a favorite accent to perform. Indian comes very, very easily, obviously, because that's my background. What I would definitely love to do, what I've always been aiming to do, is to really highlight the beauty of the Indian accent. And there's this misconception of the Indian accent being um the stereotype, the convenience store, and there is a real sexiness and a beauty to the Indian accent, from certain regions um that are just that I think that I try to highlight. And I try to, whenever I work with an Indian accent, I try to focus on those the it's general, but it's a beautiful lilting musical uh accent. So that one tends to be like kind of a favorite. But I also, I enjoy them. It really depends on the writing. The writing informs can help to inform an accent. And so if the writing, and by writing I mean word choice, because when you are from a certain region, even if you're speaking English, you will not place a certain sentence structure the way an American would.
Hmm.
And when the book is written, or the lines are written in a way that makes it easier to flow with the accent that's being called for, that's when it's my favorite, if that makes sense.
Oh no, yeah, totally. I think it's from a diversity and inclusion kind of aspect of things. The accent that someone from Georgia does not sound the same thing as someone from Texas or the South America. Like Cubans and Puerto Ricans, and it's Spanish, but it's not the same.
But what I mean is, think about your mom, whom I'm guessing, w- did she have an accent?
She did. She did. She was here
Okay,
since she was
so
19, but she still had the accent.
but she had an accent, and so there was, if you think back, she probably strung together in her regular speech a certain structure
Yes.
where she would place adverbs in a different area of the sentence than a quote unquote someone who's born and raised in America
Yes.
would place the word, sentence structure wise. And when you are utilizing an accent, if an author has that ear to write it where the adverb is placed in another area of the sentence, it makes using that accent so much easier and natural. And I encountered that when I did a book where it was written in a very specific pattern, and I was told, "Don't use an accent." And I said, "I have tried recording this without an accent, and I cannot do it. It doesn't work." And I actually ended up leaving the book because I was like, "I'm not going to do this book. It's not gonna work. I will not do this book injustice. The writing is beautiful, and I will not do that."
Romance for me tends to be like an umbrella term with all the subgenres underneath it because we
Oh.
have so many of them, um, which is great. Is there a subgenre that you love to perform? Like, do you have a favorite?
I love rom-com. I love, I do like YA rom-com just because there can be an innocence still to it. But I love you know what? I sometimes love a I love something that's just gonna make me go, "What did I just read on the page?" And have my eyes bug out because I think and in a fun way, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
just anything that's just gonna make me do that. Oh man, do I have I I I enjoy it all. The big thing with me is I love variety. Too much of the same thing for me, um, I worry about getting burnout on, which is why I'm so grateful and blessed to have the career that I have, that I get to genre hop as much as I do, because then when I get every time I get a new book, it's like I'm not going, "Oh, man, not this again." Um, because then that would affect my interpretation of it. So I'm very, very fortunate. So I love it all. But I have a special place for YA rom-com, I would say. And that's, Date Me Bryson Keller just came out today. And that is today on, I don't know if we're saying dates or
Yeah,
anything.
that's fine. Yeah.
Um on May 19th today
Yep.
it drops, and it is one of those. It's a book that's just it sweetened my heart and made me very happy to
Mm.
record, because it's just a classic rom-com, and um the characters are lovely and they're very endearing, and Bryson Keller is this unicorn dream book boyfriend that you're like just going, "Whoa, why does this kid not exist?" Or maybe he does exist, but it's like I want to, and there's a bunch coming out. It's like there's the State of Us about like two boys, the sons of the two presidential candidates on the Democrat and the Republican side. The two boys fall in love, and that one is a dual narration with Dan Bittner. If anyone, Dan Bittner is an amazing, uh, well reputed narrator as well, and it's those are two that are upcoming that I thought were very, very special and sweet.
Yeah, I heard Mo raving about it on the Audibly
Yeah.
Addicted podcast.
Yes, we
So
were we were it was so that was when we recorded that one. That was so fresh in my mind. I was just like, "Fuck yeah!" I'm still fuck yeah.
yeah, no, it's great. That's also why I love listening to them and other podcasts and talking about having that conversation within the communities, like either on Twitter or on other social media, is
Mhm.
when the listeners are so enthused about it, and then you're like, "But why?" And then they start talking to you about it. You're going, "Okay, cool. I'll read it or listen to it."
I read a review for the book, that someone had written on a blog, and they flat out said at the very beginning, "I don't like YA. I don't like YA at all. I really liked this book because it was just so sweet and endearing and just came from the right place." And it does. Um, So it's for me, and a book is good when I'm like when I'm or that it really touched me or endeared to me when I'm just like, I don't care if you listen to it or read it. It's not about my ego where it's like, oh no, you have to listen to it. It's like, this book is so good, whatever format you want, pick it up and as long as it's not Reader's Digest format, because you need to experience the whole book. So
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Well, I'm not one that reads YA. My kind of thinking process has been there, done that,
yeah.
and also the whole thing with the angst. Sometimes I'm going, no, way too much drama, in that level. But she was raving about it so much, and kind of sharing a little bit what the story was about. I'm going, yeah, I would pick that one up.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I don't know if I can ever deal with, it's very challenging for me when I have to deal with, characters that are like Harry Potter in book 5 when he was all angsty, even though it was justified, but I'm just like, "No, I can't deal with." It's like, I can only deal with so much angst. Ong or when it turns into angst is when I'm like, "Oh god."
Yeah, I have trouble with like the whiny little bitches. Like, why me? I'm like, because you're being an asshole. That's why you know. So like even like the Star Wars. Sometimes like Anakin, and when they did the prequel, I was like, oh, you whiny
Oh,
little bitch.
oh, oh,
Yeah, I see.
oh, oh.
And then the latest ones, I'm like, I know that he,
I haven't seen third one. I haven't
Oh,
seen
okay,
Rise
you
of
haven't seen this.
Skywalker yet. I haven't seen
Yeah.
Rise of Skywalker yet, so
Okay, got it. Yeah. So but even then, what's that character's name? The bad dude in this one.
Kylo Ren.
Kylo Ren. So like in the first 2 movies, I'm like, you whiny little bitch. Because it's all about how this is not
Yeah.
fair. This is that. I'm going, stop. You're still a dick. Because of what you're doing. But yeah, it's just this kind of character like I'm like, no, I didn't deal with him when I was in school. I'm not gonna deal with him now as an adult.
Well, that's where I'm like, well, you know what, Kylo, you wouldn't even have the option to whine and bitch because you didn't grow up with either a Latin mother or an Indian mother.
Basically, that
You
is
wouldn't you
true.
wouldn't you wouldn't have. It's like we're like, I'm watching that movie and I'm like, all like the foreign kids I know are like, we're like going, oh, shut up. Like watching that, it's like,
Yup. Like, I'll give you something to whine about. Like, no.
I'll give you something to whine about.
Yeah. Like, no, we're good. This is perfect.
It's like, what, football games? What are football games? No, you need to be working in the family restaurant. But it's a rite of passage. What? No, you're going to college. But okay. So it's like, okay.
Yeah. I think the thing too, sometimes I struggle with the YA is that like I'm like, where are the parents? Being Mortal Instruments, that was one that I was like, wait, what? They're in New York and they're going to the clubs and they're 16? Huh? I'm going, where are the parents?
Oh, I'm like, yeah, I didn't know that I wasn't the kid that got to. I was like, oh, I didn't get to go out and do anything. It was, it was like I felt crazy and wild when I was able to like get my car, for a night to be able to go see a theater show, and then played hooky from playing the theater show because I went to the bookstore and then met up my friends later on. I was like at the Denny's. Now that was wild.
And I'm laughing because I'm going, oh, we're so alike.
Yeah.
As seniors in high school, they're like, oh yeah, let's just go skipping to the beach, and which is totally available to be done in Miami, where we have beaches all over the place. And they're like, who are you calling? I'm like, I'm calling my mom. Like, we're going to skip school. I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. I'm not going to be where she's expecting me to be. You need to tell her. And my mom was cool that way. She's like, did you do all your work? I'm like, yes. Did you turn it in? I'm like, yes, ma'am. And so which beach are you going to? you know
Oh
and
yeah. Yeah.
and who's
Uh-huh.
going to be there? Are you driving? I'm like, yes, mom, I'm driving, and in my car it's going to be X, Y, and Z. It's like, okay, then what time am I expecting you home?
To a degree, I'm like, I'm glad that I don't have a kid, because I'm the type who would be like, with all the technology available, I'm like, I am keeping track of you everywhere. I'm like glad my parents couldn't keep track of me. And even
That is true.
the fact that they couldn't keep track of me the way we could keep track of our kids now, and the anxiety I would get back then thinking they know what I'm doing. They know everything I'm doing. even though they technically didn't.
Yes.
But oh my God, they know everything I'm doing. Can you imagine like the anxiety like my kid, I can just say based on what it is, would have to deal with, because I would be closer to them than stink is to shit.
Bad. It could be stressful, but even as a parent, I have a 17-year-old, so thankfully in my end, he actually limits his time that he's on the devices, and
Right.
self-imposed 8 o'clock at night bedtime kind of
That's
thing.
amazing.
It is,
That is amazing.
I'm like, dude, it's Friday night. Come on, just stay up half an hour later. He goes, Mom, I am tired and I have to go to work tomorrow. I'm like, okay, there you go.
Well, an example I'm just thinking about, I just thought of this is, so my partner and I we share locations and everything like that, for safety and everything, obviously. And one night I was coming back from school, it was one of those hell tech weeks, and so I'm like late, and I'm talking to my work wife before we leave, and I'm like, oh God, I'm so hungry. You know what, I think I'm gonna stop off at McDonald's, even though I shouldn't. And because it's like my partner is in extremely good shape and very health oriented, and owns a gym. So I'm like, I'm like, don't tell Paul. Don't tell Paul. I think I'm gonna stop off at McDonald's. And it's like 1 a.m. or something, or 12 o'clock. And I'm like, driving. I'm like, you know what, fuck it. And I'm like, I pull in. I need a fucking hash brown. And I suddenly get a text message. I've ordered and I'm waiting to pick it up. And I get a text message that says, don't do it. And the first thing I'm like going, that bitch texted him and told him I'm going to McDonald's. And I'm like, because she's one of my best friends as well. And I'm like, you fucking ratted me out. And then I get another text from him, and it's from my partner, and it's a screenshot of my location. And I was like, foiled by my own devices.
Yes.
Because it was my idea to be like, let's do this to be safe, so that we were also aware, and just to be safe for each other, and blah 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 blah. And of course I get foiled by it.
Yeah, see, that's probably what I would have replied back saying, okay, babe, but we can work it off later when I get home. So I'd be like, fine, get your double.
No, I was too tired. Remember, these were the 18, 19 hour days. This is
that's right.
This is like, don't even look at me.
At me. Oh, okay.
Don't even look at me, because that takes effort.
Yeah, God, yeah. One of the things I love to do with my guests towards the end of the episode is play a little game called Would You Rather?
Yes. Would I rather?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Awesome. So here we go. Would you rather always be 10 minutes late or always be 20 minutes early?
I would rather be 20 minutes early, and that's something I'm working on.
Oh, okay. Would you rather know the history of every object you touch or be able to talk to animals?
I know it's not life or death, but this is my problem. I go, oh my God.
No, but when you were sharing how you love to learn the history of things and everything,
yeah,
like, this is going to catch him, because I know that you'd love to do that,
See, we learn so much from animals, and we could learn, and that would be a vast other world versus I'm like, I would hate to be, working on something, and then I'm like, I'm just putting my head down on this table, only to find out that someone did some very naughty things on it. You know what? Just for this sake, I'll say, let's talk to animals. Oh, you know what happened? I would give up meat then.
Oh, see. That would definitely help. Fuck. Well, no one said you're going to talk to the farm animals.
No, I would totally. It'd be like every time I No, farm animal. Of course I'd hear the farm animals. That would be like, the comedy for the angels right there. I mean, they'd be like, ha ha ha, poor bitch. Chose the animals because he thought he'd be Dr. Doolittle, and now he's not going to be able to like eat that steak he wanted.
Oh no.
So I take it back. I want to listen, do the object history.
Got it. Okay. Oh goodness. Would you rather be able to teleport anywhere or be able to read minds?
Read minds.
Would you rather never have to clean a bathroom again or never have to do the dishes again?
I don't mind dishes, so the bathroom. Well, it depends. Is it a big party and I'm drunk? See, that's where my mind goes. I'm like, what's the circumstance? What's going on? That's why I'm horrible at these games sometimes, even though I love them.
It's why I love playing them. I get to, get some more insights into the person based on.
Oh, what was worse was when you think this is bad. I mean, it's a good thing we're not playing Never Have I Ever with alcohol, because
oh gosh,
oh yeah.
Oh, that would be bad. That'd be fun, but that would be bad.
Okay, so what did I say? So I would I don't want to do the dishes. I'll do the bathrooms.
Okay. Would you rather be able to control fire or water?
Water.
Would you rather be invisible or be fast?
Fast.
Would you rather lose your sense of touch or your sense of smell?
Oh, smell.
Would you rather always be hot or always be cold?
Well, baby, I'm already hot, so I always tend to be on the cooler side, except when I'm hot flashing. So I Team Jacob or Team Edward, for God's sake. Okay.
Well, the way I see it for this question is always, well, I can always bundle up. I can't always take everything off.
Well, I'm already cold, so that's why let's stick to cold.
Okay. Would you rather tell everyone your guilty pleasures or never partake in any of your guilty pleasures again?
Oh, please. I'll give up my guilty pleasures? Fuck no. I'll tell people about my guilty pleasures.
Yeah. Perfect. All right, last one. Would you rather have a personal chef or a personal masseuse?
Well, what does the masseuse look like?
Oh goodness.
You know what? I will do the personal chef.
Okay.
The masseuse we can always, you can always go. But food is just such a delicious, wonderful thing.
Before we go,
yes.
see if you can. Why don't you share with us what you're currently working on, or what's coming up next that you can share?
Yes, I am I'm getting ready to do the newest book for Jen Lyons, the Rune of Kings books. I'm getting ready to do that. See, I wasn't prepared for like this one. I'm like going, what am I working on next? I'm on my week off.
Man. I know. When you said that, I was like, oh. Well, Audible has a bunch of books that are coming out.
There are a number of books that are in the pipeline. I just have to actually take a look and prep and see what's happening. There's there's the third book for a trilogy, but this is a romance site, so various genres, let's put it that way. And there is some romance in there somewhere. I just can't I can't remember what it is right now at this point, because
no worries. Like I said, I always
yeah, you threw me.
Sorry, I didn't know you were on vacation. You have vacation brain.
Oh my God, like you would not believe.
Thank you so much for being my guest for this year's Audiobook Loving.
My pleasure. Oh, good God. I feel bad about, oh my God, how long is this going to take to edit? I'm like, all the more power to you, sister. I'm like,
No, it's been great blast. I was so happy that I got the chance to talk to you today. It's people are always raving about you and how awesome you are as a person, not just as a
Thank
narrator.
you.
And so I am blessed to have to be able to see that and be able to say I got to talk to him for a lot of
Thank you
time.
so much. I so
Yeah.
appreciate that. And hopefully we'll all get to meet in person
Yes, definitely. Yeah, for
and
sure.
partay
Yes.
together.
Perfect. Yes. And until next time, happy listening.
Thank you for joining us in the Audiobook Lovin Series, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. We hope you have enjoyed this episode, as well as the series. We've included audio samples of our guests' work within the post for you to check out. Please make sure to visit the main page, link within the post, to learn more about the series, the authors, and the narrators. Please consider leaving a review wherever you listen to the series if you enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to follow us on our social media platforms and subscribe to the Viviana Enchantress of Books newsletter. Until next time, happy listening. Audiobook Lovin hopes you've enjoyed this program.